I know like Dutch people who will be like, no, I don't like my family. No, I'm going to Friesland. And peace out. And they're okay with it. No one can tell them otherwise. It's like, no, I don't like my aunt. She told me that my dog is rude. And I'm like, wow. And you're just, you're like, you're good. I am so good. I have new friends. That's my family.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
just like that.
good for you.
Yeah.
You have literally chosen you.
I'm a king. Yes, I'm a king.
Welcome, listeners and viewers, to the African Narratives podcast. My name is Anita.
And I'm Dr. Deborah.
And today we're going to take you on a journey. We will be speaking on the sense of community in Africa and Europe. I promise you, it's going to be very, very exciting. So remember to hit the like and subscribe button, and also, of course, the bell, so that you can get a notification once we have new episodes live. Perhaps we could maybe speak on our personal experiences, since I was born in Kenya, but I grew up in the Netherlands. I mean, I was 2 when I came to the Netherlands, and I've had my fair share of community-related experiences.
Yeah.
But of course, I'm also really curious to hear what your experience is
Yeah.
in this matter.
Yeah, it's actually a good swap that we have, that you were born in
I
Kenya,
think so.
raised in Netherlands since you're 2, and then I
Yes.
was born in Tanzania,
Yes.
and then moved to Netherlands,
Exactly.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, most of my childhood is really rooted in that African way of living, and to be honest, that sense of community, we have this saying, it takes a village, and it literally takes a
Exactly.
village
That's
back
really
home,
true.
whereby if you have a child, for example, the aunties, the uncles, the neighbor, the sisters, the cousin, everybody will look after that,
Yes.
after your kid,
I get
you
that.
know?
Yeah.
And here it's like each one to themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Like your
definitely.
kid, your kid. Even getting your mother-in-law to come
Yes.
and look after your kids, here you have to make an absprache.
It's not a. It's not a given.
No,
even.
before the baby is born, you have to check calendars. Mom, when are you
Tuesdays.
available? Tuesday at 3 p.m. for 1 hour.
But 6, I'm going to walk.
Yeah.
I'm going for a walk, so I cannot.
Exactly. It's so crazy. But in Africa, it's so different. Like our parents, even if you're living in diaspora, they will come and stay for 3 months with you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's I don't have kids myself, but I see that with my siblings. That But in Europe, it's you don't get that. If your mother does that, you're really, really privileged. Like
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just one example of things I've seen that are, quite different. Another funny thing is, I don't know about you, but have you ever gone to a Dutch person's house during dinner time or
Oh
lunchtime?
my gosh.
Do they
I
feed
am
you?
literally traumatized because and I was young when this happened. So a friend of mine lived I think 20 minutes by bike from my place. And let's say we were supposed to meet at 7:30 or something, and then we're supposed to go out, whatever that meant at that age. But then I was like, okay, I'm ready to leave now. Let me just go at 5:30, maybe 5:45. So that means we'll have more time together to do whatever, our makeup or whatever. We're, I think, 16 or 15 or something.
Yeah.
So I get on my bike and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to be so happy to see me, because I'm not here at 7. I'm there at, let's say, 5:45, 5:30. So I get to the house with a big smile on my face, and I'm like, yes, she's going to be so happy. Yeah. I didn't even call her because we didn't have WhatsApp it was just, I'll see you then, and then I'll see you then. That's it. I didn't have any restrictions or rules at that time.
The good days.
In terms of hey, don't come before. So then I ring the bell and everything, and the mom opens and she's like, oh, wij zijn aan het eten. Oh. And I'm like, and at that point, of course, I had been in Holland for since I was 2. I was 15 at that time, and I did not have a clue what this meant. So I was like, okay. So then I said, eet smakelijk, I guess. And then they said, okay, come in. You can wait in the living room, and we're about to finish our food. The shock I felt.
It's incredible.
I didn't know if I had to run, just without saying anything, just leave and just run and no notification, anything, or I just froze. So I basically just froze. I never asked her anything. I just carried on like it was a normal thing for me as well, but I was shocked.
It's really so weird.
And
like
time
that
went so slow.
Yeah,
I was it was going so slow.
Oh, so bad. But yeah, it's quite interesting. But let's get down into now family lives in Europe. Social circles and professional networks in Europe is what constitutes a community.
Of course.
But for us, it's a bit different, whereby a community for us is everybody that interacts with us, family or not family.
Neighbors, extended
Neighbors,
family.
everyone, you know. Yeah, so it's I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like community in the Netherlands or in Europe for you?
Community in the Netherlands is only a community once you voluntarily actually, well, not really voluntarily, once you actually consciously choose for that to be your community. And I think for me, the difference in the African community is your community, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
It's not a choice or anything. It's
Yeah.
just you're born into it. Like I grew up with a few Kenyan families, and those were my cousins. And even my Dutch friends, when I told them, okay, they're not really my cousins, they're like, what?
Yeah.
Really? You lied to us?
Yeah.
But I was like, it's just the same. Literally, we had, I mean, I was a bit older, so whatever I used or whatever I had, toys, would always go to the other cousins.
Yeah.
And I think in the Netherlands, it's only like, is it maybe a football club which you're a member of, or any other activities? Like, okay, that is the community. But as soon as that activity, whatever brings that community together, is done, it's done.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like it's a natural, organic way of being, I'll say.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you said that because in Tanzania we call everyone dada or kaka, which is sister or brother.
Yes.
And I remember once I traveled for work with my client and he had me call a shopkeeper dada. He was like, oh, that's your sister. And I'm like, no, it's just the lady I usually come to buy my stuff from. So she's my sister. You know, it's just that, you know, for us it's family and community. It's, you know, I don't know if that's the socialism.
It's always, you always look out for each other in a way. It's not like you can get stranded somewhere or you can get stuck once they're like your community is around. Well, here you can have a flat tire and you have to call the ANWB if you have the ANWB.
No one will even stop.
No one will stop. It will just bypass you. And it's funny because it's so deeply rooted in me that whenever I see someone who's having troubles or elderly people who are maybe having difficulties walking, I'm always trying to find a sense of, okay, is there something I can do to like make sure they're okay?
Yeah.
It's just an automatic thing. I don't need to even think about it. I think I sent a video to Femi, our producer, about, it was a real, what do you call it, a meme, about a girl coming home, a Nigerian girl coming home. She's like, la, 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 la. I don't know if it's from school or work, whatever. She comes home, goes to her bedroom, and there's someone sleeping in her bed. And then she's like, Mom, there's someone sleeping in our bed. Yes, that is the cousin, sister, brother's mother, sister, daughter, aunt of blah, 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 blah. She's staying with us for 5 months. And I think that's I wouldn't say like that, not that the part where you really overthink, that's not really present, where you say like, hey, I need help. Of course, come over.
Yeah.
We'll do whatever it takes in order for you to have your basis or settle.
Yeah.
So it's like no questions asked.
Yeah.
And kids, I mean, you have an opinion when you're 18, but until then, you just go with whatever.
Yeah, you're under my roof, my rules. I bring in anybody.
So as a kid, you grew up seeing this. I mean, I also grew up with my aunt living with us, and later my cousin, and then my cousin also invited her cousin, and then he invited another friend. So, and we're not living in a huge villa or anything, but we made it work.
Yeah.
And of course, my mom would go to work, and then there would always be babysitters. She would come home, and then there's food. So we had a little community in our house, and that's how I grew up. So one of the first things when I had my own house was like, I need an extra room just in case. And then literally, I have my bedroom, of course, my son's bedroom, and then there's this bedroom, this extra room that has never been used, but it's there just in case. I have a double air bed, I have a single air bed. I have even positioned some furniture in that room so that the bed can easily be positioned there and that the guest, whoever those may be, can be comfortable. Because I cannot imagine having a house where, I mean, of course, you have the living room, you can always improvise, but in my head, I always have, like, oh, but what if the visitors come or the people? So in my head, it's so deeply rooted that that's always going to be an option, and I'm up for it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And now you said that like we welcome everybody, as long as like if we have the means to help you in whatever manner, no matter how small.
Exactly.
Could be just giving you a plate of food or giving you a place to lay your head. You know, that's But also when you mentioned that your friend, you were supposed to meet up at 7 and he showed up at 5:30, and that was a big deal.
That was shocking.
That's also something else that I find a bit strange here. Like even with friends, you need to make an appointment months in advance or weeks in advance or something.
Yeah.
I'm used to, I'm coming from work. Oh yeah, let me pass by Anita's place there. Let's have a quick chat. We'll even have a random dinner, coffee,
Yeah.
And then the day is done and you go home, you're happy, you've seen your friend.
Yeah.
But here it's
no,
constant afspraak.
Afspraak. And
Afspraak
like,
maken.
oh, what do I hear? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I already removed my chicken from the freezer, so I don't know
Yeah,
what your plan
chicken
is,
for one, no?
but I'm gonna eat my chicken. Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's crazy.
I mean, yeah, there are so many examples that I have. There was this TV show with Moroccans. I mean, it's not only in the African community, it's also in the Latin community. And
Yeah.
there was this show I was watching with the Moroccan elderly ladies. They were following them, like going for picnics and doing some random activities, I'd say. So they went to barbecue, and they needed this, I don't know what you call it, the fire starter for
Yeah.
the barbecue. I don't know what you call
Yeah,
it exactly.
it's
Fire
a
starter.
fast
Let's call it
starter.
fire
Yeah.
starter. Lunch, or I have no idea what you call it. But anyway, so they had everything ready. The meat was ready, prepared. The barbecue was ready to be set, but they didn't have this fire starter, aanmaakblokje in Dutch. So they went to the next couple. I mean, of course, they were Dutch, and they went there, and they're like, "Hey, meneer, hey, can you please help us with like maybe a quarter of your aanmaakblokje, so that we can also have our barbecue, if you don't mind."
Albert Heijn is a
Guess
classic
what? He said no. He had a whole pack of aanmaakblokjes.
Oh.
And I'm like, sometimes I really wonder, like, is it so bad to like be open and sharing, or like, I really ask myself, like, what is the underlying thing
Yeah.
that makes it so important to not share?
Yeah. Yeah, that's just selfish, you know?
Yeah, I
It's,
mean, he's not gonna die.
Yeah, exactly. Half a block. I mean,
He's not
come
gonna
on.
die. I mean, even if like, okay, come to my barbecue, you help me or whatever. Maybe it's a quarter. Maybe she said half, and he was like, a quarter I'll give you, but a half we don't know. I have no idea what runs through someone's mind when you have the opportunity to help someone and you choose not to.
Yeah. And here we are, we give each other onions and salt
Yes.
and this and that in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You know, it's really a big cultural difference there.
Yeah, but where do you
That's,
think that really stems from? I mean, I grew up here. Maybe at some point I'm like, yeah, this is just the way it is, and I roll with it. But maybe from your perspective, I would say, like, coming to the Netherlands later, what would you say that it could be?
I can't even place it because initially I thought they're just being very practical and efficient and, you know,
Dutch
extreme
efficiency.
Dutch efficiency, you know,
Yeah.
extreme planners in everything that I have
Is planned for.
is planned for. So if I take out a small piece of it, you are ruining my
The
plan.
whole thing is
The whole-
disbalanced.
You know what I mean? And I think that has gone too far
Yeah.
to an extent that also that essence of humanity
It's
kind
not
of
there.
flies away with that as well, you know.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
especially the part of humanity. It's
Yeah.
like you overlook the human aspect of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite strange. This is some things that I found. The Dutch bluntness, I get it.
Yeah.
Fine. Be direct, save my
That's your
time,
thing.
let's go. Practical, have a sandwich for breakfast, lunch, dinner, it's
Efficient.
fine. Practical, it's efficient, go. But that essence of sharing is not there.
It's
and
not
I
really there.
don't get it. Why?
And I mean, again, I grew up here. I've been here since I was 2, and of course, I grew up in a Kenyan household with a Kenyan way of being, and still stepping outside every day of my life. I'm not even surprised when I get surprised about the things that I see. It's quite funny because at some point you think like, okay, now, and there was a period in my life that I would really get angry.
Yeah.
Like, because the funny thing is like, because it's so deeply rooted in the culture, and I'm not being negative at all. Please, viewers, don't take this as an attack or negativity. This is my personal experience. It's that it's okay if you are generous and they take and they take and they take and they take and there's no limit.
Yeah.
But then when I realized, I was like, wait a minute. When was the last time I was invited for a tortilla wrap
Yes.
instead of a glass of syrup
Yeah.
with nothing? And I was like, I'm seeing a pattern here. This person is always coming to my house saying, ooh, so verwend. I'm being so spoiled. I was like, spoiled. I just literally took an egg, I took a paprika, and
Yeah.
I made something. These drinks, they've been here forever, so let's just finish them. And then, I mean, again, maybe it sounds like I'm being negative, but I'm just trying to understand the whole experience. And of course, we'll come with our conclusions and see where this will take us. But and then you'd visit and you'd be like, huh? And then your stomach is like,
Yeah.
so you just say, okay, I have to go home. So it doesn't, like, you being generous or open or sharing doesn't trigger the other person to be. It
No.
it has nothing to do with.
Not at all. It's there's no it's not contagious
No,
apparently.
no.
it's
One-sided a bit.
yeah, it really is one-sided. Meanwhile, please don't forget to subscribe and follow us on our channel. Africa Web TV. And in there, you will find the Africa Narrative podcast as well for more content. We'll be back.
So you're not from Ghana,
I'm from Ghana. In Africa, we have a compound. You can have a whole compound. Everybody know everyone. But here, you come out. You think you can see someone that is in the compound or something? No, everybody have his own building, a house, apartment. Even you live in an apartment, you don't talk to anyone. Sometimes it happens. But in Africa, it's different. We are built different also. We are connected. Europe, they are not connected.
Yeah.
They have a brother they don't talk to like maybe 10 years. You see, so they are different than how we are. But you know, it has its two sides. Sometimes maybe it's good, and the other side too, because
What would you say is maybe good about the European system?
I think they think about themselves more, you know, and we are like, think about the whole family. And I think sometimes they move forward than we, because if I have 10 euro, I need to share with everyone.
Yeah.
You know, and them, you understand, and them, they are saving the money, you know, and it makes them sometimes move forward. But I think that's not the life also. We African are different than them.
We're back. Please join the discussion in the comments below. You know, leave your opinions or your experiences about the differences in the European and the African culture, or just anything that you want to share that could enrich this discussion. And I'm back here with Anita, and I'm Deborah, and we are going to now dive into the pros and cons of these different types of society. I mean, we've seen that, the African model is more community-based and the
Yes.
European is more individualistic.
Yes.
Now, as much as there are pros to that community feeling, but it might also come with some disadvantages.
Yes.
For example, losing a sense of individuality.
Oh, yeah.
And then also putting a stress on resources. For
Yes.
example, an uncle can call you, please send me money because you live in Europe or something.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
some people might feel that they're entitled
Exactly.
to some sort of help from you, while you are also strained on resources, and explaining that looks like, oh,
Like you
you're a
don't
bad
want to-
person, you don't want to help
Exactly.
me out, you live in Europe. But,
Yes.
you know, just understanding all that. I don't know, what are your experiences in this manner, or what do you think are some of the cons? Actually?
Yeah, I think that exactly what you just summarized. The fact that you're part of something greater than yourself means that you have a responsibility towards the people who are in the same community, whether you like it or not. Of
Yeah.
course, there are the pros, but the cons, I would say indeed that, like, if you're being asked for help and you don't deliver as fast as you would expect, then of course you're the bad person, or you're like the person who doesn't want to share.
Yeah.
It's like, my money is their money, or vice versa, you know, like there's always this expectation that you look out for each other in good and bad times.
Yeah.
And of course that can also put a pressure, but I think as you slowly but surely integrate into the Dutch culture, you also feel like, hey, but wait a minute,
Yeah.
do you even know how I got my money? Do you know that
Yeah.
I wake up every morning, jump on my bike at 4 a.m., let's say, to just get this money from the job that maybe I don't even like and I'm miserable about?
Yeah.
And I was sick last week. Did you even ask about that? So then you start thinking about
Exactly.
counting things. Did they ask if I was sick? I have been, my son has been ill. Do they even know what I do?
Yeah.
So then you start thinking, like you start putting counter arguments as to why they should back off.
Yeah.
And then it becomes this whole hostile situation.
Yeah.
And then if you want to take it even further in terms of communicating and showing your feelings, something that is in the Dutch culture a bit more integrated, or European culture, I would say, expressing your emotions. What I've seen in the African culture is that it's not really a thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, call someone and say, hey, I know that you're in need, but have you considered that at this point in my life, I am struggling so much, and all I get from you is a text, send me an M-Pesa.
What do they answer you? If you don't have the money, just tell me. Why are you telling me your problems now?
Exactly. Like, hey, maybe you should just go for a walk, or just buy a beer, or just do, talk to your. Hey, let me call your mother. Let me see what's going on. Hey, and then the whole gossip starts like, hey, I spoke to. I think she's unstable, huh? There's some mental something. I just asked her one small simple question, and then that escalates. Do you want to go there all the time?
No, that's the
So
thing.
you just have to be like a chameleon, and then choose and pick your battles. And
Yeah.
what I have learned is, like, the way you'd be direct in the Netherlands to maybe your relatives or friends in Kenya who have been brought up there, just have a little bit more strategy and tact.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if someone or a cousin or someone, I'm not naming anyone, by the way, if someone would
They will
ask
know
me,
themselves.
always asking me for money, but then I see you traveling here, you're doing this, you're going even more places than I am. And I was like, wait a minute, I've been sending you money, but you've been traveling. So now I heard like, yeah, COVID really hit me, la 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 la. And then I said, okay, COVID also hit me. Did you know it was an international it was a pandemic?
Yeah.
Meaning it's worldwide.
Yeah.
And that was the end of the send me M-Pesas. Because I had to. I mean, either you get bullied for, you get bullied actually for not doing it.
Yeah.
And you get this whole thing that goes around the whole, I don't want.
No, exactly.
That's
yeah.
when I'm like, okay, let me just be now my Dutch hat and be like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Do what you want, but I am not participating in your show.
No, not at all. And it's so difficult for us to cut off family.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's not something that's expected to happen. I think the Europeans, it's so
Easy.
white people. It's very easy for them
so
to cut
easy.
off people, and for us, it's like cutting off who.
Oh wow, yeah.
Then the elders will sit down and say, "This child has no manners."
Yes,
You
she's
know,
out.
you know?
Yeah. No.
It's a whole thing. But
So
yeah.
the whole thing that I like about the Dutch community and the culture is that boundaries are set.
Yes.
And even till this day, I am 35, turning 36, I struggle with that.
Yeah.
Because growing up, you don't have boundaries.
There are no
You're not
boundaries,
taught
no.
like, hey, of course they say like, if you don't like something, mention it or just say something. But it's not like, there was a time, I think, a colleague of mine, she had some issues with her, some private issues. I was listening, but actually, in reality, I had so much work to do. But I was just there, yeah, 1.5 hours.
Oosh.
I mean, I felt sorry for her and I felt like, no, she needs me right now. So this is what I need to do as a friend, and whatever I am doing, it's not that important. Guess what? The next time, I had an important issue to discuss. I think after 5 minutes, she interrupted me. Anita, I'm so sorry, but I really need to get this email out. Blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I wasn't even angry. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I even applauded her. I was like, I need to learn that.
Yeah.
Because, yes, of course, we're important, we're community, but at the same time, we're also responsible for our families. We have expectations that need to be met. We have, responsibilities as well.
Yeah.
So in one way, I can really respect the whole, like,
boundaries.
It's
Yeah.
fine. This is your boundary. I respect that. I'm not going to chase you with my
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, no, that's true. We struggle a lot with boundaries as Africans, and we expect there's so much that's expected from us from the
Yes.
community, which would be everybody.
You're
around
born
us,
into it.
You're born into it. Yeah, Femi was talking about status. We really also, we want status.
Yes, do not
in everything.
exactly.
You know, and because of that, we find ourselves not setting boundaries because we
And a
want
lot
to
of
show
pressure.
off. And a lot of things that we do them so that somebody can see it.
Yeah.
Or how
Or
the
the family,
society will see
or
me.
exactly.
You know, it's parents as well
Yes.
do that to us. Either become a doctor, lawyer,
Yeah,
or engineer.
exactly.
Anything else is not.
No,
does
not
not work.
worthy.
You know, yeah. So there's that as well. But then that puts some limitations in, having you setting your own way of
Being
life,
your own
being your
person.
own person.
Exactly.
It's it comes in between, and it's it's
Something
really
you have
hard
to
to
learn,
navigate.
actually.
Yeah.
You have to unlearn whatever you were brought up with.
Yeah.
And now growing up in this society, you have to learn, like, you
Yeah.
have your own opinion, you have your own direction, you can set your own life without
Yeah.
feeling this burden on your shoulder.
Yeah. I mean, some parents are easy on us, but I think I can say a majority of African
there's
parents
this-
are not like that. They expect things from you, and if you do not deliver, it's like, oh, hey, this child is embarrassing me. Oh, where am I going to put my face in
And
this
there's always
society
the neighbor's
now?
child who's doing better.
Yeah. Why don't you be like Mawani's child? Huh? Did you hear she's going to med school? Yeah?
And you're just young
And you want to do what? You want to do marketing? Oh my God. What did I do wrong now?
Yeah.
Hey God. You know, it becomes also dramatic,
it
and you're like,
does.
okay, sure,
For
fine,
no
I'll go to
reason.
med school too.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
It's always
crazy.
that whole thing, like, failure is not an option.
Yeah.
And also later in life, I've been learning, like, you have to fail to succeed. That's know your way. What are we
Yeah.
talking about? Failure is not an option because I'm a superhuman and I cannot let my people down. And then also, of course, now coming into the part where I came here as a second generation Kenyan, first generation, of course, they came here, they took whatever they could manage, like jobs. It was just like, hey, we're happy we're here at some point, and we'll make the best of it. Made this decision, so let's make the best of it. So then the pressure that's on the second generation, if I look at if it's Ghanaians or Nigerians, my age, there's no one who's just slacking.
Yeah.
Everyone is always talking about, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that,
Yeah.
but I'm also going to go on the holiday, and I'm going to do this, and everything is going to be the max of the max, because you cannot fail your parents.
Yeah.
They came all the way here, they struggled in the Dutch society, weren't able to follow the culture or even the language.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to be like, wow, I did not disappoint you, mom or dad.
Yeah.
I am going to make sure that the third generation is not even gonna, suffering will not be even in their dictionary.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So that's also pressure you have to deal with. And that's also community.
That's also
Because I know Dutch people who will be like, no, I don't like my family. No, I'm going to Friesland. And
Yeah.
peace out. And they're okay with it. No one can tell them otherwise. It's
Yeah.
like, no, I don't like my aunt. She told me that my dog is rude. And I'm like, wow. And you're like, you're good. I am so good. I have new friends. That's my family.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Just like that.
good for you.
Yeah.
You have literally chosen you, and
Yeah.
no matter who is in your surroundings, they have
Yeah.
not dictated your life.
Yeah.
So I'm like, those are the cons. The pros of this whole
Yeah.
individualistic
Individualistic.
and the community
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
cultures.
yeah. It does have a toll though on mental health as well. You know that. Individual.
You have to enter individualistic.
Yeah, this individualistic society. Yeah. Whereby, it can bring some feeling of loneliness as well.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why also there's high numbers of depression and stuff. That would be
depression.
something.
And also when you hear these stories in the news, like, oh, so and so was in her apartment for like 3 weeks and nobody knew, and they just like. I can literally not imagine that someone in my community, since we're speaking about community, would be in her apartment dead for 4 weeks.
Yeah,
That
and
for me, I hope I would never understand that. I do not want.
Yeah,
But it's so shocking. I think it's such a sad situation as well.
It is a sad situation to be. That's the word. It's really, really sad.
Yeah.
You don't want to die and nobody cares at all for 4 weeks.
And then what I also realized is that the whole thing of, if we look at the African way of being in terms of the whole community and the European way of being, I have a elderly friend, he's almost 80, and he would never in a million years ask me to help him with groceries or whatever. I have to be the one no, okay, you're going to this part, let me take you, let's help you unpack. Never. And then, of course, when you look at the African society and you look at maybe someone who's maybe 80, he's like, oh, it's like expected. Now it's your time to pay me back for all the things that, there's not even a question about me asking. No, you should already be, by the time I've already woken up in the morning, you've already made my tea or done whatever, because that's what I expect.
Yeah.
And the other hand, where you have the European society, it's like, oh, no, please, they'll even send you away because I don't want to be a burden to you.
Yeah.
You have your own life.
Yeah.
You just do whatever. I'll survive. And I think that's how also they end up being in a situation where maybe they fall or something happens and nobody is aware of that, because they're always in a way, almost pushing you away, no.
Yeah.
Don't worry about me. I'm good.
Yeah. And they actually go to nursing homes.
And they
take an African parent to a nursing home and be like, hey,
you're sending me to jail.
I will curse you. I will die and I will leave you a big
Haunted.
Hey, me, your mother, you want to put me in a nursing home after I carried you for 9 months.
You disturbed me.
That will be a whole shebang. You can't even
that's
try
not an
to.
option.
No, it's not an option at all.
That's not going to work. It's not going to slide.
It's it is. It really is a lot of differences. And also affects a lot of affects how this, because now we talk about the mental health part of that in an individualistic society. It brings loneliness, but also in the community feeling, it can also be overwhelming and anxiety and and also that you could be that feeling of failing or the fear of failing as well can constantly keep you anxious.
Definitely, and there's always this community talk.
Yes,
which also brings an invisible burden. I don't know how somehow I managed to switch it off, but I remember there was always what did Anita do? There was always there's always something going around for no reason.
Yeah. It's it's overwhelming sometimes, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then when you do well and meet the expectations, then there's a sense of entitlement that okay, now you've done well.
Yes.
You're going to take your cousins and your sisters
Everyone.
and siblings to school. You're going to build a house for everybody, and then you're going to do this and that. And then it's, what about me now? The one
Yeah.
who's actually working hard.
And doing everything.
You know, doing everything. It's incredible. But yeah, viewers and listeners, I hope you're actually down there in the comments sharing your experiences as well, or whatever thoughts you have around this topic.
I don't need you. You don't need me. So we don't come in contact. We don't have any contact with each other. To see people gather like this in Europe, it's only in festival. In the winter, you don't see such thing.
Is it not because of the weather that people are not always together?
Maybe. But in my humble opinion, it's just the mentality. It's the mentality, the way of seeing, the way of looking at things. That makes us different to them.
But then also we cannot change the fact that the world is changing.
Yeah.
You know, the Africa that we grew up in is so different from the people who were born like, let's say 10 years ago or something. You know?
Yes.
Are we Africans going to become more like Europeans and Europeans more like Africans?
I
Or
think that you're making a valid point actually, because looking back at when I was maybe in primary school around the age of 9, Africa was such a faraway place, and do you even have a TV? It was really like this vague type of thing, so leave alone knowing about the culture and our ways of being and doing. But what I see now, like for instance, if I go to a regular restaurant or I don't know, a bar or whatever, they're playing Afro beats. They're having, people are eating fufu, and they're like, and I'm like, wow, I just stop and pause and see like, whoa, this is really mingling really well. And I think in that sense that also in the Dutch culture, I don't believe that all the families are like that right now, that if you show up at 6, that they will kick you out. Actually, the contrary. Because I think that the whole blend and mix in Gen Z, of course, I think if you tell average Gen Z in maybe Rotterdam, one of the bigger cities, that this happened, they'll be like, oh, but why? You know, because we're all becoming a little bit more one and closer to each other because of this globalization, and the culture cannot be left behind in that sense.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. I do have, for example, my in-laws, they're amazing people. So it's they also have a very different perspective of life, like the Dutch. Or if I walk in when they're having dinner, then they'll put a plate out for me. You know, so they have that sense of community. You can see that closeness. So it's not every family that's like that. The same way as in Africa, not every family is the whole community. There are people who are really lonely and alone, and they have to figure out life on their own. So yeah, it's here and there, you know. But I don't know, with listeners and viewers, I mean, you can also reflect on your own experiences. Please don't forget to share in the comments, you know. We would like to hear from you. We'd really like to hear from you.
Definitely. And subscribe.
Oh yeah, and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, follow us, and click the notification button as well, so you stay abreast of what we keep bringing to you. And I
think also if we look at the trends in the future, being a society now with, especially in the bigger cities in the Netherlands, where we're such a diverse mix of different cultures, I think even more so we need to find our communities and unite, and also make sure that we really do look out for each other. I mean, we've had this phase where, okay, the first generation came and it was maybe survival, let's say, just to put it in black and white. Not everybody, but just in black, in the way it would, just for the sake of this example. Second generation was like, yes, maybe a bit more individualistic, because we have to prove and survive, and we need to not disappoint our parents. And what I see for the future as a trend, like the third generation, that is your maybe fourth generation, they'll be like, but there's nothing wrong. We're just here together. I do not know what you're talking about with this whole, we're just being, we're living, and we're not even concerned about who does what, which, because it's all interchangeable, it's mingling, and that's not even part of the discussion anymore. So that's how I would see it for the future.
Yeah, I believe so as well. I mean, that's the utopia we're going for,
We're
right?
looking forward to.
Yeah.
I think from an economic perspective, if you'd say like, okay, what is better then for the whole economic environment? Is it better to be more of a community, or is it better to be more individualistic? I like this African saying where they say like, alone you go far, but together you go further. I think if you're looking for short-term objectives, maybe not really including the human aspect, you will go far. But then I think, like, are you going to be alone at the top? Are you going to celebrate it by yourself? You know, are you going to share your victory with who's going to be there with you? So I would say like it's more of a slower approach, but I think at the end of the day, we're humans. We need this connection,
Yeah.
regardless of where you're from, Europe or Africa, and then it's in our nature
Yeah.
that we need each other. That's why when you're at home for maybe more than 2 days, you start talking to yourself,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're not even like you're mentally okay. So we do need this mirror or reflection, whether it's positive or negative. We have to have people surrounding us and validation, and
Yeah.
we need to be seen.
Yeah.
So I think in the long term, I would say community is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And even though I know some people might argue then why is Europe more advanced than Africa, for example? And I always like to say this, that I think when we talk about economics, yes, it's about money. So we
Yes.
can say that, okay, one is more advanced than the other. But then we humans, we are creatures of connection.
Exactly.
And without just having the financial means and missing the other things, you're not going to thrive.
It's empty and meaningless.
Exactly, exactly. So I think community at the end of the day is still very important. We see a lot of happy people who are cash poor. I call it,
Yes.
for me, poverty
Yeah.
can be so many things. And
Exactly.
it's really just cash poor, but they're so happy and fulfilled in so many other ways.
Yes.
And there are people who are not cash poor, but they are lacking in so many other
And
ways.
they're miserable.
They're really miserable. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like I would say I would rather live in a community and die today and people find me today than live
Exactly.
rich and die today and people find
By
me 4 weeks
yourself.
later.
Yeah.
You know, then
I
it's
agree.
well, I'll be dead, so it wouldn't matter. But,
But
you
still.
get the notion.
Hear about that.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, so I think in conclusion, I mean, this is a nice way to wrap it up because in the end of the day, we are humans.
Yeah.
And the fact that in Africa we're so connected to who we are as humans makes us be more of a community.
Yeah.
And I think in Europe we're a bit detached
Yeah.
from who we are supposed to be as humans. We've
Yeah.
become almost sort of a automatic pilot way of living. Like, I
Yeah.
need to go to school, I need to do this, I need to make a lot of money, and but it doesn't matter how.
Yeah.
The how in Africa is very important, and I
Yeah.
think that's something we can definitely bring back to the equation, and the world would be such a better place if we did
Right.
bring back the whole human aspect into the equation.
Yeah, very, very true. I don't know if you get this as well, but there's a different energy when I land in Tanzania at the airport and when I land back in Amsterdam.
There's just like, it's a difference between depression and
I know, right? It's like when I land in Tanzania, I'm like, woohoo, I'm here, full of energy. When I land back in Amsterdam, I'm like, oh,
here we go.
let's do this. Okay. Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't lose yourself for the sake of a community, I think, but in general it's nicer to have a communal feeling than just be on your own.
Community will also poke their noses in your business.
That's true, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, in that sense, yes, but in general, I guess the intention is still, like if they poke their nose in your business, is it for the idea of gossiping or is it because they're looking out for you? And I
good
think
one.
maybe that distinction is what matters.
You are no longer your own person. You belong to everybody. Everybody belongs to you.
Yeah, and then you like maybe that's a lot of stress as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and some of the good things people say about the individualistic thing is you are able to shine, you are able to reach the maximum of your potential.
I guess so, but then does that make you happy to shine on your own? I think if I would rather have like a very tight community and you can still be yourself within that community, but I think to just be on your own at the top, that doesn't interest me that much.
There are pros and cons in Europe. I mean, things are always on the dots. What is being said is what you can expect. There's little room for spontaneity. It's really all structured and organized, which of course brings a society where if tomorrow I break my leg or have something going on with my health, that at least within a certain period of time, you know that there'll be the care that is needed, of course.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you're in Europe. Who's going to drive you to the hospital?
There's that. You have to
And
call
then-
an ambulance,
exactly.
which is so expensive.
It's so expensive. So then there you see there's a plus and there's a minus, but then at the same time, maybe in Africa, if I break my leg, I will have 10 people carrying me.
Yeah.
Either way
Yeah.
to the hospital. And yeah, of course, it's something you cannot really argue about.
Yeah.
Like it's also a personal preference and
Yeah.
how you see yourself in this world, because at the end of the day, you're going to find your home wherever you are home, whenever you're home with yourself. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter where you are. You can always
That's
move.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Well, yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Really, everything that you said, we are on the same page there. It's really important. But then also, I want viewers and listeners to also understand these are our views and opinions and our experiences that we are sharing here.
Yes.
So no judgment, please. And please go to the comment section and leave your own views and experiences. We'd really love to hear from you. With that being said, yeah, we really thank you for taking your time to listen to us. Watch out for the next episode. And how will you know? Do not forget to follow, subscribe, and push the notification button so that you do not miss a thing. This is the Africa Web TV, the
Thank you so
African
much.
Narrative Podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You are from
Uganda. I think there is advantages to both, but if I was to choose, I'm going to choose the African system. Yeah, I'm definitely choosing the African community and all that.
but haven't lived here for as long as you are living now. You still cannot say one good thing about this system.
I mean, it's not that I can't say one good thing about the system. It's that one of the good things I'll say is you see where the taxes go. Here you see where the taxes go. You know, you see the roads, you see the hospitals. In our countries, you don't see where the taxes go. You just see someone's belly growing bigger. So that's the difference.
I'm a king, yes, I'm a king.